Happy lunchtime, everyone. On Monday, it's Bridget Jackson here, divorce and relationship coach, and the lovely Michelle Hall, who's an eating psychology coach. How are you, Michelle? You good?
I'm good, thanks, Bridget. How are you?
I'm great. Now, the divorce diet. There's been a lot of talk about the divorce diet over the years, and clients have talked to me about the divorce diet. But let's first of all talk about you. So you are a nutrition and eating psychology coach and the founder of your business, Sage Wellness, which is based in Auckland. And you've studied it for a number of years, focusing on the mind, body, nutrition. And you've got quite a unique non-diet, we love that, don't we, non-diet approach to health and well-being, which doesn't involve following diet trends, diet scales, or calorie counting. It sounds brilliant because there is a lot in the media and a lot of different companies that espouse all those things. And you work with people, all types. You work with teenagers, you work with chronic long-term dieters, yo-yo dieters, disordered eaters, overeaters, undereaters, binge eaters, compulsive eaters, those who are resistant to losing weight, food addictions, body image challenges, and craving management. And there'll be a whole lot more.
Everything in between.
Yeah, that's right. What I really love is, you mentioned that you help clients build healthy relationships with food, mind, and body to live the life they want and the body that they love. And I suppose women, and men have issues, but a lot of women, I mean, most women are touched by some sort of eating issue throughout their lives, aren't they? They really are. So let's focus on the divorce diet. What actually is the divorce diet?
So in my world, there's two divorce diets, okay? So there's divorce diet 1, which is really when people don't eat. It's really about the low calorie intake that is brought on by the stress they feel, the rage, the sadness, the anger, all of those emotions. And often it's a need to control a certain part of their life, which they can control because often they can't control other areas. So they'll control diet or exercise or both. And so often due to stress and upset, they won't eat for long periods of time. And obviously the weight drops off to a point. The thing with that version of the divorce diet is it's very important to keep in mind that it can be a gateway to eating disorders. Okay. And so those going through divorce need to really focus on their calories and their protein in particular to keep those cognitive abilities functioning, which is so important, as you'll know, for negotiating those legal and relationship issues. Then the divorce diet 2.0, I call it, is the other side. That's when for those that may have underlying issues or underlying long-term disordered relationships with food, then they will go back to their old ways and they will start to fill that emotional void, comfort themselves through food, and really use food as an emotional substitute for something else that they're not getting. So they go the other way, and generally weight gain will be the result. I find it often can go a lot deeper in that they sometimes want to, without really consciously thinking about it, build more of a protective layer around themselves. That's protection to support them in what they're going through in their separation and divorce. So it's both,
Okay. Yeah. So how do people combat such a diet, and what sort of tools do you suggest to deal with combating undereating or overeating?
Yeah, so for those that undereat, it's critical to make a concerted effort to eat. So it's about focusing on foods that they find easy to digest. So things like smoothies, soups are great. You don't need to chew them really. You can just drink them down. Whilst I don't encourage drinking your calories for this kind of situation, it can be really nurturing and nourishing. I really focus with those clients on maximum number of calories per mouthful. So eating small meals through the day rather than them thinking they have to eat these big breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Just break it up into smaller meals throughout the day. And often we have to set reminders on their phone. So it'll actually be an alarm that'll go off, which is a reminder to tell them to eat, because they get caught up in life and everything else, and actually forget to eat. The other thing that you can do when you're feeling incredibly stressed and anxious and you've got food in front of you, but you don't feel like your belly can really cope with it, is to breathe. And I know that sounds incredibly simple, but it's the most powerful tool you can do to actually slow down your nervous system and relax your digestion so that your stomach can actually start to take that food in. So 5 to 10 big, deep belly breaths helps to calm everything down.
Right.
If you're following the 2.0 version where you use food for comfort, then it's really it's a hard one to navigate on your own, I'd have to say. And it's really worth getting some support to help you and understanding your relationship with food and finding ways that you can move forward in a way that you don't use food for comfort. And so that that involves looking at, how do you fill yourself up with other things that don't involve food, and really understanding your why just as much as what you're eating.
Great. Okay. So part and parcel of making sure that you're eating properly is self-care. Really, really important. And like you, I talk to all my clients and ask them, what are they doing in terms of looking after themselves when they're going through such a stressful time? What self-care strategies do you suggest from your perspective?
Yeah, so you're right, Bridget, it's such a critical one. And most of my clients, whether they are going through a divorce or separation or not, self-care seems to be at the bottom of the ladder for them. So the first thing I do is really the breath work. So again, focusing on practicing your breathing throughout the day really helps to support your nervous system and relax that stress response that's going on. There's other things you can do, like Epsom salt baths. They're amazing. It's a really good way to soothe the body and relieve pain and inflammation. It allows you that stillness to really decompress, that time to yourself where you don't have people wanting or demanding from you. And it can really help the body to relax mentally and physically. So getting, a cup of Epsom salts, half a cup of baking soda, so half a cup of sea salt, and putting it all in, and then just allowing yourself to bathe in that is really, really lovely. I also encourage people to write down what I call an enjoyment inventory. So really looking at all the things that make them feel good. What are all the things in life that make you feel good? That can be as small as, a cup of tea in the morning to a world trip and everything in between. So really honing in on all those things that you love to do that make you feel good, that is just about you, and then starting to identify, okay, what are those things that we can really prioritize and add into our day, our week, our month, and our year? Because if we don't actively do that, that's when self-care gets put to the bottom of the pile, right? So it's about actually actively creating those activities and planning for them.
That one's really great.
Yeah.
10 minutes doing this, and it could have, lifelong benefits for them with their self-care.
Absolutely. It's huge. And people then get into the habit of doing that, and it becomes a part of their normal day-to-day life. So that's really, really important. The other part of self-care I find, which is valuable, is creating good nighttime hygiene, because for most people, they're not sleeping very well. So making sure that they have a really good nighttime plan that doesn't involve being on a screen right up until sleep time, that they can practice breath work or meditation at night to really calm their systems down and, lower the lights and all of it. There's lots and lots of different ways that can set you up for a really good sleep. And sleep at the end of the day is, without it, you're not going to function. So I really do focus a lot around sleep and good sleep hygiene, which is so important for self-care.
I couldn't agree. If you're not sleeping, then you're not going to be able to cope in all the other areas of life. No. So why shouldn't we calorie count or go on diets or?
Yes, it's a great question. So yeah, calorie counting or diets, whatever you want to call them, they're a stressor on the body long term. So diets work until they don't anymore. You never see anybody who is on a diet for their entire life. That just doesn't function that way. And biochemically, when you put yourself on a diet or when you start to calorie count and reduce your calorie intake, you put yourself into a low-grade stress response. Now, this can be due to the physical impact of lower calorie counting or low calorie intake and the thoughts we tell ourselves. So, you know, I have to stick to this diet. Oh no, I ate that bag of chips. I've fallen off the diet. Now what's going to happen? Am I going to ruin this diet, etc., etc.?
Or should I go and have another 7 bags of chips? Yeah,
exactly. Why don't I just do that? And then you beat yourself up, and it's shame and blame and hurt. And then
so what is low calorie? What is low calorie?
Low calorie can be in terms of the total number of calories you eat through the day, or it can be the types of food. So people think that there are the low fat foods, which are low calorie, which are that's a whole nother live, Bridget. Talking low calorie food. But what happens is when you do that for a long period of time, your body starts to get the message that you're under stress through the lack of nutrients and lack of calories. So it kicks into what is called the sympathetic nervous system dominance, your fight or flight, your low-grade stress response. That's what's designed to keep us safe. So stress hormones are then released, like your cortisol, your adrenaline, which really signals to the body to slow down your digestion, stop burning calories as effectively, stop assimilating your nutrients as effectively, decrease muscle building, deregulate your appetite, so many things basically. And the end result is that you stop losing weight. And you then end up normally putting it, you know, back on and then some. And we're bioengineered that way. You know, biologically, our bodies have been designed to go into a stress response when we're not safe. The problem is nowadays we're not being chased by tigers, you know, and all of those things. We live in a constant low-grade stress response day in and day out. So it's all of the thoughts, the situations, and the way we live our life that continue to heighten it. So putting a diet in there on top of that is just going to continue to release those stress chemicals, which aren't great for the body. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
So why do emotions play such a huge part in what we shove in our mouths or don't shove in our mouths?
Yeah. Well, we're emotional human beings, right? That's the way we're made. And from birth, it's instilled in us. You know, when we feel bad, as babies, we'll cry, we then get offered milk, and then we feel better. You know, even as toddlers, you know, with your kids, I did it with my children when they were little. They hurt themselves and you want to give them something to make them feel better. So it's really been ingrained in us to from childhood to feel bad, eat food, feel better. So we're hardwired to regulate our emotions in this way. And it can be good. At times that's okay. But if you're doing it day in and day out, that's when it can become a real challenge. But, you know, emotion for most of us plays a massive role in what we eat and how we eat. You know, our emotions affect our food choices. And it has a lot to do with many of the foods you crave when you're not actually physically hungry. So stress, depression, loneliness, frustration, even boredom and procrastination can all trigger emotional cravings.
What a minefield, isn't it?
It's such a minefield. And you know, there are several chemicals in the brain that can affect appetite and in turn mood and emotion, right? And so stress can cause elevation in chemicals that increase the desire for fatty foods and processed carbohydrates. So that tends to exacerbate those cravings. You know, you're stressed and then you want chocolate because it's got the carbohydrates and the sugar in it. And that releases the serotonin for a short amount of time to increase that pleasurable feeling. So that's why you eat it. You feel better for a short amount of time until you don't. So we're very emotional creatures. So it makes perfect sense that food is not just food. It's so much more than fuel. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's been really insightful. I mean, what I've taken from that is that we all need to slow down. You know, we've got to stop eating our food so fast for a start. Breathe, and we've got to calm down, and our nighttime routine is really important, and just become very mindful of of our emotions, and don't beat ourselves up if we do have a packet of chips or two and think, well, tomorrow's a new day and every day is different. And I think you said to me the other day that people don't actually, depending on the day and the expenditure of energy, etc., people eat different amounts.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's there. That's why meal plans don't work long term, because our energy needs are so different depending on, you may sit at your desk all day one day and not get as hungry, and then the next day you might be incredibly active and mobile. You're going to need more. You're going to need more food because your energy use is much higher. So you need to be really fluid and flexible with that.
And I suppose too, the other thing is people have not got to beat themselves up, that if they feel like they need to improve their eating, it's not going to happen overnight. It'll take time.
Correct. And I think that's the thing I do with my clients, is help coach them to learn how to stand by themselves through this, because progress is not linear. It does take time, and it does go like that. So it's learning about how you can stay the course in a way that's still nurturing and supportive to you overall, and not beat yourself up about it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Fantastic. So how do people get hold of you?
So you can go to my website, which is www.sagewellness.co.nz. You can book. I do a free 15-minute consult, so you can book on there, or just email me, michelle@sagewellness.co.nz, and I'll respond back to you.
Great. Well, thank you. Well, we're going to be next month back with another Facebook Live, and we're going to be talking about children and their eating and divorce and separation, and when they're involved in the middle of their emotions. And yes, people feel free to reach out to Michelle, and if you've got any questions to ask, or if you want to go and see her, or you can connect with her via me. But thank you so much. It's been it's so wonderful to actually, rip off the Band-Aid and talk about this issue, because a lot of people just do not want to even talk about what they eat or what they don't eat. They try and keep it all to themselves and not reach out if they need help.
Absolutely. It can be a really private challenge to go through.
Embarrassing. They can be embarrassed about it, can't they?
Yeah, very much so. Very much.
Well, thank you everyone for listening in, and we look forward to talking to you again in November. Have a wonderful week. Bye now.
Thanks so much. See ya.
Bye. Bye.